Have you ever felt like you're drowning in stuff, but somehow still feel empty inside? Like no matter how much you buy or achieve, something's still missing. What if the secret to finding yourself isn't about adding more to your life, but actually taking things away? So here's the thing. We live in a world that keeps telling us more is better. More clothes, more gadgets, more subscriptions, more friends on social media. We're constantly chasing the next thing, thinking that once we get it, we'll finally feel complete. But spoiler alert, it never really works that way, does it? A couple years back, we were stuck in this exact same cycle. Our apartment was packed with things we barely used. Our schedule was crammed with commitments that drained us. Our mind was cluttered with worries about keeping up with everyone else. We looked successful on the outside, but inside, we felt completely lost. We didn't even know who we really were anymore underneath all that noise. That's when we stumbled across something called Japanese minimalism. And honestly, it wasn't just about cleaning out closets or throwing away old stuff. It turned into this whole journey of rediscovering who we actually are when we strip away all the excess. Today, we want to share how this ancient philosophy helped us find our real self and how it might do the same for you. What makes Japanese minimalism different? Now, you've probably heard about minimalism before. Maybe you've seen those Instagram accounts with pristine white rooms and two pieces of furniture. But Japanese minimalism is something deeper than just an aesthetic trend or a decluttering hack. The Japanese approach to minimalism comes from centuries of cultural wisdom. It's rooted in Zen Buddhism and traditional practices that focus on finding beauty in simplicity and meaning in emptiness. There's this concept called in Japanese culture, which is all about the space between things. It's not just empty space, it's intentional space that gives everything else room to breathe and exist fully. Then there's Wabi-Sabi, which celebrates imperfection and impermanence. Instead of chasing perfection, it teaches us to appreciate things as they are, with all their flaws and natural aging. And there's Kanso, which means simplicity and elimination of clutter. These aren't just design principles, they're ways of living that help you see what truly matters. What really struck us about Japanese minimalism was that it wasn't about deprivation. Western minimalism sometimes feels like punishment, like you're restricting yourself. But the Japanese version is about appreciation and intention. It's about surrounding yourself only with things that serve a purpose or bring you genuine joy. Everything else is just noise distracting you from your true self. The breaking point that started everything. We remember the exact moment when things clicked for us. We were standing in our bedroom trying to find something to wear for an important meeting. Our closet was absolutely stuffed with clothes. We're talking dozens of shirts, pants we hadn't worn in years, shoes we forgot we owned. But somehow we stood there feeling like we had nothing to wear. That feeling of having everything and nothing at the same time really got to us. We spent nearly 30 minutes just staring at this overflowing closet, getting more frustrated by the second. And then it hit us. We didn't even know what our own style was anymore. We'd bought things because they were on sale, or because someone said they looked good, or because we thought they'd make us look successful. But none of it felt like us. That same day, we looked around our entire living space with fresh eyes. The shelves filled with books we'd never read but kept because they made us look smart. The kitchen gadgets we'd used exactly once. The decorations we didn't even like but someone had given us as gifts. Our life had become a collection of other people's expectations and society's definitions of success. We felt suffocated. More than that, we felt invisible to ourselves. Who were we underneath all this stuff? What did we actually care about? We couldn't answer those questions because we'd buried our real self under layers and layers of excess. The next morning, we decided to try something different. We weren't going to do some dramatic transformation where we throw everything away overnight. That felt too extreme and honestly kind of scary. Instead, we started with one drawer. Just one single drawer in our desk. We pulled everything out and looked at each item individually. We asked ourselves a simple question for each thing. Does this add value to my life right now? Not, might I need this someday, or did this cost a lot of money, but right now, today, does this matter? The answer was surprising. Out of everything in that drawer, we only put back about a third of the items. That one drawer took us maybe 20 minutes, but the feeling afterwards was incredible. We could actually see what was in there. We could find things easily. There was this sense of calm that came from that small, empty space. It sounds silly to get excited about a drawer, but that's where it started for us. Over the next few weeks, we moved through our space slowly and intentionally. We tackled our closet using a method we learned from Japanese organizing expert Marie Kondo. We held each piece of clothing and honestly asked if it sparked joy or served a clear purpose. So many items got donated because we realized we were keeping them out of guilt or some imagined future version of ourselves. The physical decluttering was just the beginning, though. As our space became clearer, something interesting started happening in our mind. We began noticing patterns about why we'd accumulated so much stuff in the first place. A lot of it came from trying to fill emotional gaps with material things. Shopping when we felt stressed, buying things to impress people whose opinions didn't really matter, holding on to items because letting go felt like admitting we'd made a mistake. Discovering who we really are. As weeks turned into months, the changes went way beyond having a tidier apartment. With less physical clutter around us, we had more mental space to actually think. We started noticing what we genuinely enjoyed versus what we did just because we thought we should. For example, we'd always told people we loved going to crowded bars and big social events. But when we honestly examined it, those situations actually drained us. What we really enjoyed were quiet evenings with a couple close friends, having real conversations. We'd been performing a version of ourselves that fit some social expectation rather than honoring who we actually were. We also realized how much time we'd been wasting on things that didn't align with our values. Hours scrolling through social media, comparing our lives to others, watching shows we didn't even enjoy just because everyone was talking about them, saying yes to commitments out of obligation rather than genuine interest. Japanese minimalism taught us that our time and energy are just as important to declutter as our physical space. There's actually research backing this up. Studies have shown that cluttered environments can increase cortisol levels and make it harder to focus. A study from Princeton University found that physical clutter competes for your attention and decreases your performance and increases stress. When we simplified our surroundings, we literally gave our brain permission to relax and function better. The deeper lessons that changed everything. The most profound shift came when we started applying minimalist principles to our identity itself. We'd spent so much of our life collecting labels and roles, thinking they defined who we were. The job title, the degrees, the hobbies we'd picked up to seem interesting, the opinions we adopted from others without questioning them. Japanese minimalism encouraged us to strip those away too and ask what remained. When we weren't defined by our possessions, our achievements, or other people's perceptions, who were we really? That question was uncomfortable at first because we'd built our entire sense of self around external things. But sitting with that discomfort led to real self-discovery. We started reconnecting with interests we'd abandoned years ago because they didn't seem practical or impressive enough. We rediscovered our love for simple things like watching the sunrise, cooking a single perfect meal, or spending an afternoon just thinking and writing. We learned to be comfortable with empty space, both physically and mentally. In Japanese aesthetics, empty space isn't something to fill, it's essential to the composition. The same became true for our life. We didn't need to pack every moment with activity or productivity. Sometimes the most valuable thing we could do was nothing at all. These days, our life looks pretty different. Our home has breathing room. We own fewer things, but we genuinely love and use everything we have. We're not constantly shopping or accumulating because we're not trying to fill any void anymore. More importantly, we know ourselves better. We understand our values, our boundaries, and what brings us real contentment versus temporary satisfaction. We've gotten comfortable saying no to things that don't align with who we are, even when it disappoints others. That's been one of the biggest gifts of this whole journey. Japanese minimalism didn't give us a perfect life or make all our problems disappear. What it did was clear away enough noise that we could finally hear our own voice again. We found our real self not by adding more to our life, but by taking away everything that wasn't truly us. If you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, maybe it's time to ask yourself what you could let go of. Not just physical stuff, though that's a good place to start, but also the expectations, the roles you're playing, the version of yourself you think you should be. Sometimes finding yourself means losing everything that isn't actually you. And that's not a loss at all. It's the most valuable thing you could possibly discover.